Hello, my snacks. Welcome back. It is back. The long as heck story of the man whose brother stupidly proposed to their own fiance in front of them, thus causing the entire family tree to split apart and shatter more than being struck by lightning. Yes, I know that was a terrible metaphor. And today we are going to be reading the satisfying conclusion to it all. Now, for those unfamiliar, feel free to watch the previous video on this entire compilation of a story. And if you can't be bothered, Opie's family are a piece of schmidt, specifically the parents. The brother was a golden child, got everything they wanted. Opie's fiance used to date Golden Child for literally only a few months. Golden Child tried to test if fiance was just trying to get back with him. Obviously was not the case. Brother was threatened not to be invited to the wedding, and Mummy Dearest was mad her Golden Child wasn't going to be there. Instead of accepting and respecting Opie's wishes, she assaults the fiance, believing this was all her fault, not the Golden Child, who was literally creating all this drama. So with all that said, we come to what is simply titled Update number 4, offering a basic thanks to everyone who's been commenting and giving support over the last few weeks, and noting, as we learnt before, why OP would bother reconnecting with the family after going no contact for a while in the past anyway. Well, to simplify, he mainly just did it for the sisters, wanting to be around for their families and not just be ducking in and out as long as the parents aren't around. Considering his sisters were never the type to ask for anything of him, he felt, at the time, slowly coming back to the rest of the family was the least he could do for her. So, what happened after the assault, kicking mother out of the wedding? We filed a report with the police and were told that even though Jen doesn't want to pursue anything, it's not up to us to decide whether it goes further, but they would keep our preference in mind. We provided some pretty decent evidence of the assault, including pictures of Jen's face and texts with my mom and dad talking about what happened. We were advised to report and record any other incidents with my mom going further, in case anything else happens. Considering where we live, doubt it'll go anywhere, but at least we have it on record. I got about 100 angry text messages that tell me they at least spoke with her regarding the incident. My mom then tried to corner me, leaving my job, and screamed at me about trying to ruin her life. She kept screaming that I was an awful son for trying to get her arrested over a small misunderstanding. She didn't understand what she'd done to deserve being punished like this. I told her that if she didn't like being in legal trouble, then she shouldn't have hit Jen. She demanded I tell the police to forget the report, which I refused. I told her exactly what the officers said about it being out of my hands. She had a tantrum in the parking lot and hit me a few times, just on the chest and arm, before security intervened and dragged her off the property. I had to talk to my boss about the incident. Luckily, she was understanding of everything going on after I explained what was happening. When I got home, I told Jen what happened. She was upset and asked that we discuss the plan with my family moving forward. It was a long talk, but we took the advice of some Redditors and decided to go completely no contact with my family aside from my sisters. We agreed that having them in my life is adding unnecessary stress for the both of us, and we aren't even married yet. She told me she wanted to consider moving away and putting some distance between us and my family. She said that she tried to stay out of my family issues because it's not her place, but she refuses to put up with my mom and her behavior or my dad enabling her abuse. A lot more was said, too much to put in this post, but I agreed with her that they were more trouble than they're worth, and I also don't want to put up with this anymore. I also agreed to go to therapy, and she's helping me find a therapist. Now, I decided to call my dad after our talk and let him know I would be going no contact. Now, he didn't answer the first time I called, so I left a message asking to have a long talk. Well, when he called back, he asked if it was okay for my mom to be a part of the conversation. I told him it was okay since she needed to hear what I had to say too. The conversation went about as well as you could expect. I told them both that Jen and I are cutting them out of our lives. My dad demanded to know why I would do something like that after going through all the trouble of repairing our relationship. I told him that this entire thing with Mark has shown me that nothing is actually repaired between us, and as far as they're concerned, the world revolves around only my mom and my little brother. I told them that their continued favoritism of Mark has brought our relationship to a point of no return, and that I wasn't interested in holding on to a failing relationship. I told them that I agreed to reconcile for Charlotte's sake, but I don't appreciate all of the disrespect towards me and Jen, and that I wouldn't be putting up with it anymore for both of our sakes. To my mom, specifically, I told her that I was tired of her using me as a scapegoat for her bad parenting and Mark's attitude. I also told her that I would never forgive her for what she did to Jen and what she did to me and my sisters growing up. So she started to say how I should move on like my sisters have, but I cut her off and told her that she should take their forgiveness and move on because she would never receive it from me, especially after everything she's done these last few weeks. She started crying and asking me how I could treat her like such a villain. I told her she could only be upset with herself because I've done nothing wrong. Cried harder and told me how much she regretted having me and how I've only ruined her life. This started a heated argument between her and Jen once again, and Jen told her in much more colorful words that she was disgusting, plenty of other nice names, for saying something like that to me. I don't know if she left the room or just decided to shut up, but my mom stopped talking when Jen was done speaking to her. My dad said he wasn't okay with being shut out of my life, and he asked me to try to understand my mom's point of view. He said that she was also struggling because her kids were at odds, and I was being unfair to punish her for her struggles with raising and caring for us. The last thing he said was that we were a family, and I shouldn't let past mistakes stop us from moving forward together. I told him that the only person she ever cared for was Mark and herself, and there was nothing he could say or do to make me change my mind. I told him that it was up to him whether to keep my number, but I would be blocking him and my mom everywhere, and I wouldn't be reaching out again. Then I hung up. Afterward, I sent a long email with the link to my posts attached to my entire family, uninviting everyone except my aunt and uncle and my sisters to the wedding. I hadn't cried in a long time, but Jen held me while I cried after writing the email, and she assured me we would be okay. My sisters also reached out to me after reading the email. I apologized to Charlotte for not being able to continue reconciling like she wanted, told me it was okay, and it's not my fault I had to cut them off again. After that email, the response from my family has been pretty mixed. Some are angry I aired out family issues on a public internet forum, while others are mad at my parents because they never knew it was this bad. The last person I talked to about everything was Mark. He asked if I was cutting him off too, and I told him I wasn't, but I wouldn't be going out of my way to reach out to him either. He didn't argue and just wished me the best with the wedding, and we haven't spoken since. Sorry, I'm just gonna pause for a second. It's amazing to me, the character arc of Mark here in this entire story. Again, if you haven't read the original video that was this entire collage of posts, you'll understand just how weird it is to see that Mark kinda got out of all of this totally unscathed. Right now, Jen and I are looking for a new place to stay. The plan is to move closer to Jen's brother. He lives about 3 hours from where we are now, and Jen and I like the city he's in. Spoke to my boss about transferring, and Jen is looking into the option of working 100% remotely or possibly finding a new job. And once again, our venue's changed. Since the guest list is significantly smaller, my future brother-in-law is considering letting us use his lake house for our wedding. I don't plan to post any more about this unless the sky falls, at least not until the wedding, because I want to move on with life, but I'll try to answer any questions some of you might have. Thanks, and happy holidays. Into some relevant comments. Some are curious what their game plan is when the mother eventually tries to hunt them down, to which the OP responds about simply speaking to their lawyer friend and setting a restraining order before she even gets the idea to. And since mom's been put on blast for the entire family to see, how did she react to the internet completely snapping at her? According to Sophie, she's read a lot of them and doesn't think Reddit strangers have the right to tell her she's a bad person. I don't think there's any amending left in me. I wish them the best, as far from me and my family as possible. You gotta love, I mean, just like this comment says, people have zero problem with being an absolute a-hole to their children and family members and giving them a lifetime of therapy, but the moment victims anonymously air the details of the abuse they endured, it's pearl clutching time. Heaven forbid people seek anonymous support to navigate the abusers in their life. Dad, I'm cutting you out because you enable mom.
Well, that's not fair to your mother.
Now over to relationship advice, where my fiance secretly went to Paris to see a female friend. I'm 27 female, and my fiance Eric, 27 male, has a friend Jane in her 20s, who lives in Paris, France. She had moved by the time we were introducing each other to our friends, so we've only met over video chat. Eric and I had been together for a year and a half, and before we got together, he and Jane were involved. He told me it ended badly, but they did get over it. No exact exactly what happened, I've never asked. But she is really important to him. They do talk once or twice a month over text or video chat, and I know that they have a lot in common. I don't know Jane's situation, but Eric's parents were abusive, and I've pieced together that Jane's were as well. I've never gotten the impression that either one wants to go back to how it was. He's never given me a reason to be insecure until now. He asked me to marry him 3 weeks ago, and I said yes. I was really excited to marry him. But then suddenly, a few days ago, he announced that he needed to go visit family, which was weird because he cut his family off several years ago. Has expressed to me that he has no interest in seeing them again. He said that it was an important family emergency and then just left. Kept me updated, and we talked a few times on the phone. He told me that his mom was having health issues. I had no reason to be suspicious. Now, edit, I'm reading that over, and it sounds weird, but he's always been very touchy when it comes to talking about his family, and I didn't want to push it. But then, a couple hours ago, I get a message from Jane asking if Eric was okay. I said that he was visiting family, so he was probably just a bit stressed out, which is why he wasn't responding to her messages. She then informed me that he is in Paris with her and snuck a photo of him in her apartment. I haven't replied to her yet. I'm freaking out. I have no idea what to do. He just got on a plane to fly for 12 hours to see her without telling me, presumably last minute. Why is he there? Do I talk to him? Has anyone else been in this kind of situation before? Now, firstly, that is an insane move of deception, but can we just give props to Jane? Giving the fiance a heads up to what the man is doing. Not afraid to kind of almost call out his BS behavior. It really clues you into just how much this Eric fella absolutely misjudged the opportunity he thought he had with all this. Because it's through an update deleted 10 days later after the original post that we learn all about Eric's true intentions with both this entire relationship and the reason for flying over. After I posted and the comments started rolling in, I had to shut my phone off. There were many people saying that Eric wanted to be with Jane, that he wasn't over her, and I started having a panic attack. I'm not an insecure person. Usually, Eric had given me absolutely no reason to be. But this whole thing, I felt very stupid and like I'd been blind. He was always very open about his friendship with Jane and how much she meant to him, but there was absolutely nothing that made me think he still had feelings for her. Honestly, even if he told me he wanted to visit her without me, I'd probably have said that was fine as long as I got to go on my own vacation. Anyway, I got Jane on the phone the next day. Her story is that he just showed up at her door, claiming that he missed her and that he just needed to get away. She provided proof that she had no idea he was coming, and I have no reason to not believe her when she tells me nothing happened. I think she was angrier than I was. At the time, she figured that something really bad must have happened, either with me or with his family. She knew from past experiences it was better to just let him talk when he was ready, rather than pushing it. She gave it 2 days, during which he was behaving very impulsively, kept spacing out, and he brought up their past multiple times. They hadn't seriously spoken about it since it ended years ago. He's usually the calmer, more level-headed of the two of them, so this behavior was extremely out of character. And so finally, she decided to text me to see if I knew anything. Then after I told her in the original post that he was with his family, put it together pretty quick that I had no idea where he was, and she confronted him about it. They got into a massive fight that lasted for hours, and she eventually told him to leave. She didn't really tell me what the fight was about, just that she yelled at him for not telling me, but after talking to him, I've got a hunch. Me and Jane talked for a long time. Both of us were crying by the end of it. I think this whole thing opened up some wounds. She told me their history, a lot of which really surprised me, like how they weren't even really boyfriend-girlfriend, and he's the one who ended it. He'd always given me the impression that it was bad, but ultimately a mutual breakup. It was just a really toxic situation for both of them, and it took them a long time to get back to being actual friends after. Which brings me to my conversation with Eric. He showed up a few days after I talked with Jane. I had packed up and left to a friend at that point. He came over to talk. My friend was in the place the whole time. We talked for a while. I asked him 100 questions, and he answered 5 of them. He said he was sorry, that he can't provide an actual explanation for what he did because he doesn't understand why. I said that wasn't good enough, and I needed him to tell me what happened. He said he couldn't because I won't understand. I suggested couples therapy for us. He's been doing it individually since before I met him, but he said he didn't want to. He just wants to forget that it happened. Damn, she literally gives him an olive branch, and he's like,
No, you wouldn't understand. My ego!
the positive explanation I have is that he had some kind of freak out after we got engaged. Maybe something did happen with his parents that he couldn't talk to me about it, which is fine. I don't necessarily think that if someone is struggling, the first person they should always go to talk about it is their partner. Look, I'm totally fine with him going to Jane if he was freaking out over the prospect of us getting married, or if he did hear something about his mom. Obviously, don't fly to another country and lie about it, but that goes without saying. Jane could probably understand that better than I could and would know what to say, but he can't even talk to me about it, nor is he making an effort. So how does that go? He just wants to pretend that everything is fine and normal, and I just can't do that. So I couldn't help myself and asked if it was because he just doesn't want to talk about the fact that he wants to be with Jane and regrets how he treated her. He denied it, but I think I hit a nerve. He claimed that he doesn't have any leftover feelings for her other than the fact that she's a big what if. She's important to him, but she's the past and I'm the future. Oh, bro, a what if invites curiosity. It's one thing to acknowledge you had a bad ending with an ex, you screwed up the relationship on your part. I'm in that boat, but I'm not immature enough to chase what was blatantly incompatibility in the first place. Maybe decades in the future, okay, that's a what if moment, but there is no way, no natural way in hell that you or your ex has changed in some beneficial way that would make the relationship suddenly work only a few years after breaking up. You wouldn't be getting back together because it's actually, well, you would be getting back together because you're both either bored, horny, or it seems easy and familiar. So this may just be my fear talking, but what if this whole time he's been using me to try to make Jane jealous because he realized that he lost her, and he went to see her to see if she still wanted him just in case? I think that's what they fought about. I think he went there to see because he's realized he still wants her, and she's been off living her life without him, no problem. I mean, it's bad enough if that is the case, but if I take him back, what if she changes her mind? I don't have a reason to believe she'll change her mind, but I mean, she doesn't talk about him the way that I talk about someone I'm romantically interested in, and now that I know their history, I wouldn't want him back either, but who knows? Well, after our conversation, it's obvious that he's not 100% certain that he wants to build a life with me, and he's not willing to do what it takes to fix this. I'm not worth the work. He won't even try. Basically, the big issue for me. I can't build a life with someone who won't put in the effort, so I don't want to be with him. I told him to leave, and he left without a fight. Blocked him on everything. I've talked to Jane a few times since, and they have spoken. She told me that he's probably going to take some time off work to figure stuff out. I hope he can get some help. Plus, I know it sounds utterly bizarre, but I think I've actually gained a friend in her. She's checked in on me multiple times and even helped put me in touch with a new place to live that I just moved into. And yeah, despite OP seeming to have a panic attack with their theory that Eric was just using her this entire time, comments are kind of doubling down with that theory as well. Which, as the OP says, it is kind of funny that he seems to have thought that the woman who moved away to a foreign country has been sitting around for the past few years waiting for him to want her. Yeah, he's clearly watched too many rom-coms. Though here's another really insightful idea as to Eric's actions. Sounds like he isn't in touch with his feelings and buries them until it becomes real, and then he panics. It's like some part of him seems like he is still stuck in the what-ifs. The other is going ahead with his life until it becomes really real, and then the fear sets in. And then if he doesn't try to fix what was wrong, then what if again? And instead of dealing with it, he is just burying. And that isn't a good person to communicate with and be honest and trust with your feelings. So she is right to stop now, as he isn't talking with her like you would be in a successful relationship. But you know what? I've got to give props to Eric in this one for sharing with all of us the complex duality of men, showing that men too can have manic episodes, be impulsive, erratic with behavior, and lie seemingly out of nowhere. Suck it, incels. We're just as bad as women, apparently. Turns out, despite your philosophies that all women are like those, no, it amazingly, shocker, but it turns out men have brains too, equally capable of doing these things. Am I the a-hole for telling my friend she should have seen her husband and her friend's affair coming? Some background. I'm a 35 female, and I was friends with Julia, 35, and Alex, both female and 34. We have been friends since college, but our tiny group expanded from 3 to 7. This story is about Julia and Alex. 2 years ago, we all came to know that Alex was having an affair with a married man. Her excuse was that he was unhappy, and that is why he is seeking seeking outside validation, I advised her to stop it and that this is not healthy because he will not leave his wife. Well, she didn't listen, rather accused me of being a bad friend. All of my friends were against it, but to them it was not my monkey, not my circus. So I contacted the wife and told her everything. I knew who the wife was because the married man once introduced us, and so everyone in my friend group turned against me, especially Julia because she thinks I betrayed my friends, which is so funny because if anything, you just helped assure that this man will now definitely leave his wife for Alex. Like, you helped Alex in this scenario. Unless it was blatantly obvious he was never going to leave his wife in the first place and was just using Alex as a side piece. She stopped talking to me because if I can betray a close friend of mine, then I can betray her as well. Alex was heartbroken because the married man decided he wanted to work on his marriage, so he broke off things with Alex. Julia was with Alex and I was shunned from our group. So what happened now? A few weeks ago, I got a call from Julia. She was crying and telling me that Alex betrayed her. She has been having an affair with her husband and that she is heartbroken because she has supported her, and this is how she repays her. Even our friend group is divided. I was angry at that moment. I mean, she ignored me for 2 years, badmouthed me, said that I was in the wrong. I literally warned her that Alex was toxic. So I told her that she should have expected this from Alex. I mean, did she really think that she will show loyalty towards you when she already did something immoral before? I knew the moment she made excuses of having an affair with a married man, her morals were compromised. I am not religious, but I do have minimum respect towards other people and their feelings. And suffice to say, I am not surprised she went after her husband. Now, I do think I went too far because some of my other friends said I was too harsh on her. Even if what I said was the truth, I should have been more sensitive because she is going through a divorce. I do sympathize with Julia, but I also feel like as friends, sometimes we need to tell them the harsh truth. I know I said all of this when I was angry. A part of me says she needed to hear that. Was I wrong? At the time, some believed that everyone sucked. All of you sound like terrible people. OP took a cheap shot because she could. It was an I told you so moment, which never does anything but make the person saying it feel superior. Well, what do you think? You think she deserved to feel superior? I kinda think she did. Oh no, you feel stupid for the consequences of your actions? Boo-hoo, maybe next time don't support people hurting others if you don't want to be the next victim. Others notably point out she ostracized you from the group because she'd rather support the cheater, then comes to you for sympathy when that backfires on her. Interesting choices. Now, just under a week later, the OP does come back to give us some more information on things that have occurred. Does she reconcile with Julia? Does Alex get to keep this new man, or is he going to do literally what every other kind of man will do in this situation? Well, the OP quickly accentuates that they had no regrets telling that first wife about the affair, with some very valid justification for doing so. Because apparently people have been shaming her for being someone who would shake the nest like that. Man, some people in the comments should work for the police. They'd love that kind of employee who likes to hide corruption. Now to the actual update. I did speak to Julia and said that I was sorry. I shouldn't have punched her down when she is already going through some hell. I did not want to add it. I know a lot of you have told me to just cut her off, but I realized I was too harsh on her. Even if what she did 2 years ago was wrong, she came to me because she needed a friend. I can sympathize with her in her tough times. She just went on and on about how she felt betrayed by Alex when she has always defended her, even when her own parents disowned her. Just out of curiosity, I asked her if she has plans to divorce her husband or work things out. She said she is going for divorce. Well, wouldn't you know it, her husband is begging her for another chance and even said he will cut off all contacts with Alex, along with the offer of opening their marriage on her end. Aw, suck it, Alex. But no, she is headstrong on her divorce. She did ask for my forgiveness, and I do forgive her, but I still do not want anything to do with her. I do feel sorry for her, and I hope she finds peace, but our friendship will never be restored to its own glory. She said that she understands, and this is probably her karma, and God is punishing her. She is quite religious. That's the end. I hope she takes him to the cleaners. For the grapevines, I heard that Alex has been shunned from my former friend group because now they are afraid she might go after their husbands. And as for Alex, I do believe she is a psychopath who enjoys breaking up families. I do not think any amount of exposing will work on her because she has no shame. She deliberately goes after married and committed men, and I am glad I cut ties with her way before she could get to me. That's it. Have a great life and stay away from all of the Alexes of this world. Shortly after posting this, OP actually deleted it all. You can't even see the comments, because it seemed that despite clearly OP being the good person here, others on the internet just don't like their immoral fun being ruined, I suppose.
Everyone sucks here. Oh, what? If I was getting cheated on, I would want to know, so I guess the wife also wanted to know. Oh, the classic Reddit response. Everybody should think the way I do, and if I would want to know, then everyone else should want to know too. Oh, what? You were simply a messenger? Not 1 ounce of accountability for your own actions, as usual.
To which OP responded, "What accountability? Are you dumb? Why should I take accountability when I did nothing wrong? I told the truth. If you are a doormat enough that you would not want to know the truth about your husband's affair, that's on you. You want to accept your spouse cheating? That's on you. Most of us sane people would like to be informed." It truly is fascinating that some people actually abide by this rule of not my monkey, not my circus, and then will kind of be shocked when they go through some hell and their friend group is just avoiding it. It's such a backwards argument too, because okay, let's entertain this whole idea that you shouldn't inform people of cheaters because it's not for you to tell, or like, I don't know, it shouldn't be informed. Okay, well, if you are personally someone who is okay with your partner cheating, then you shouldn't care whether or not someone tells you your partner's cheating. It should be as interesting and informative as someone telling you they just did a poo. Like, I'm sorry, do you get riled up and infuriated when you hear someone flush a toilet? Like, oh, how dare they announce that to everyone? Couldn't they just keep it to themselves? Look, I'm sure that's a terrible example I'm making, but I hope my point still stands. Anyway, we might end things there. Thank you, as always, for watching. Love your face, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.